Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes League of Legends edition. Bit of a sad one now. The LEC is finished forever. Half the viewership's gone. Not going to be in the studio very soon. Is it? Is the LEC dying, guys? What's going on?
I mean, I've just seen the fact that LR pick didn't beat the MKOI KC pick from last winter, so I think we're still fine.
Just
Honestly,
about. Well, yeah, because I saw that. I think I saw Sheep tweet it, the exact numbers, and yeah, it was like less than 1,000 off or something, wasn't it?
yeah,
Which
something
in the
like that.
tweet they said it tied it for the highest peak, but like just factually it didn't tie it because it was still a few hundred away. But yeah, well, let's maybe start with Los Ratones, eh? Get that one out of the way. The tough story. Where do you guys want to approach it from? Because obviously you could talk about games and what's actually happened, but also there's so many like side discussions about tiebreakers and really what's next for Los Ratones as well. Certainly from what the players and the staff are saying, it does seem like that's it. It doesn't feel like there's anything else coming, which was kind of like what would be what was the question for a little while. Yeah, what do you guys make of the games maybe first?
I mean, the game against Vitality was in their hands, right? Um, that's the saddest part because, like, I don't want to come back on those match fixing stuff with Casey with this. I mean, if Casey had the match fixing, I guess Fnatic had the match fixing. I guess like any team can lose against any team. We saw it in this LEC, right? I guess the fact they lost against KCB earlier in the season didn't help them as well, right? Yeah, that 0-4 start is probably what hurt them the most, honestly. But yeah, I feel like it was in their hands this Sunday, right? They could have beaten Vitality. I think they should have. If there wasn't, I think it's Crowny. Like if we want to come back on the game specifically, I think it was Crowny that made the step too far and caused his team to lose Baron and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't know you made an interview with him, but that's it. And then yeah, I feel like it has been a hell of a ride. Like honestly, I enjoyed a lot watching their games in the end, and even that narrative that they will be making it to playoff. I feel like it's quite a sour taste that they're out right now. Um, Even though they lost against Vitality, I think honestly they would have deserved this spot more than other teams, in my opinion. Like I do feel like Heretics as well has been interesting to watch in the later stages, but yet I don't know. It feels weird to not have them. Um, and I wanted still to come back a bit on that all that stuff that happened with KC and match fixing and stuff. I just hope that now both teams have seen like the bad side of the community that can just because I do feel like Los Ratones were quite critical about KC fanbase, right? And I think there are some very like bad person in the KC community, but I just guess we know now that there are as well very bad person in the LR community. And guess what? I guess there is bad person in every community. That's how big communities work. Whenever there's a big community, you will just hear the minority of it in the socials saying bad stuff and saying like racist, xenophobic, homophobic, whatever you want stuff on socials. And yeah, I just hope both teams realize now that there are bad sides in every community, and that's not something you can control, sadly, because when there are such huge communities clashing, there are always like downside, right? Um, and yeah, I just honestly, if that's the end, that's very sad because I feel like we kind of need LR in GLC. Like it's, to me, it's kind of obvious, right? I just think if they can join in the good way, that would be the best. I'm just not sure how they could join in the good way, because of the fact right now the league is still closed. I don't see Riot opening the league in the next few weeks or in the next few months, honestly. Like they will need to buy out every franchise fee to do that. I just don't see it happen. So I don't know how they could do. Maybe by um, you know joining with another structure already in. Maybe SK like Casey did actually with Astralis and stuff. Uh, Maybe they could do that. They could do it that way. But yeah. Otherwise, I don't see it this year. The fact is, if we have a break this year and they come back next year, for example, who can say this will be the same roster? Maybe Baus want to go on and stream. Maybe Reckless stop playing for some reason or doesn't want to continue his career. I don't know. No one knows. So yeah, I'm kind of just looking forward to hear from them and know what's their next plan, because obviously I think there will be an update soon. And yeah.
Yeah, because it's not quite the same as like when you first had like Ibai and Kometo with teams in the RLs, is it? Because it's the identity isn't just Cadrel as the owner being a big streamer. Like the identity was those unique players and having Baus
Exactly. Yeah.
playing competitive for the first time and all of that. But yeah,
Do you guys think? Do you guys think they will still, like, people will still follow Los Ratones regardless of the roster behind them?
No.
I think they definitely would. But I mean, Cadrel's big enough to it wouldn't probably be like the same extent. Certainly not straight away.
Yes.
Maybe he'd
Yeah,
like rebuild it
exactly.
over time because he'd have to like bring up the new players to be the big faces or whatever. But they could survive, I think, for sure.
But in the end, if they want to join LEC, that's what he will need to do, to make changes to
Yeah.
actually have a more competitive roster and stuff. So maybe if he wants to become an LEC franchise, he will eventually have to do that,
For me, I think it's like it's kind of like tough to say, but it really depends on like a couple of key players. Like in terms of popularity, if you go by it, it would probably be Nemesis, Reckless, and Baus. Like Crowny a little bit on the lower end, and Velia becoming like a new guy is probably not as big. For me, it kind of like loses the. If we were to see roster changes, it kind of would lose the whole point of seeing Los Ratones, unless like Cadrel is obviously pushing the narrative forward as to why they made those changes, why the new players eventually, whoever comes in, is relevant to the project, and why would they think he could be a good fit. But for me, like the whole thing, I was so tilted the other day when I was watching the Wintrading thing, because aside from what Ethan said about like, oh yes, it's like top teams can lose, anyone can lose to anyone. I think it's just very fair for like from a own team perspective. So like KC and all the other teams that lost, that technically were stronger on paper, they are definitely like unconsciously also a little bit less with the fact that it's already qualified.
Yeah.
Their mindset doesn't really have to be like, oh, we have to like win this game at all times. If it's good for them to learn stuff. Like Casey's draft was very clear that we're trying to play like a draft like a poke comp, which is something that none have done so far, aside from obviously like picking something on a Jace. But like even the Jace in previous games that Yai played, he wasn't really just he wasn't like a full poke comp. So it was clear that like Casey was trying to do something on an official match, knowing that they already had qualified and were first, so they were like comfortable. So why wouldn't it be down to choosing like something that maybe they're not super comfortable, but they want to train on stage to see how it plays out for the upcoming best of threes and best of fives? It's not something that uncommon. It's just that, oh, like people obviously are jumping on the bandwagon because of the shocking turn of events, because it's honestly like very shocking. Like Los Ratones was about to win, and then like all the stronger teams on paper ended up losing to their weaker teams, the weaker counterparts, aside from G2 and Fnatic.
They had
But like
90% of qualifying at the start of
yeah,
the day.
but
It's
like
kind of crazy.
yeah, exactly. But like for example, G2 and Fnatic was like G2 destroyed Fnatic because I think that's what we should expect from them. But I think they were more likely to actually destroy Fnatic because of the fact that they were playing like they were literally we win, we go through, we don't, we go home. Like it's you're some players, some pros tend to overperform when it's like even MKOI players were saying like, oh, we tend to lose to weaker teams because we tend to lose focus, and well, like when it's like strong teams, they tend to lock in. They literally did that against Navi, and you wouldn't say Navi is a bad team in the LEC right now, right? So like it happens. Obviously, there's like a lot of frustration, and you feel like it's sad to see it end that way. But you know, this is also part of what makes esports, and then part of competitive and like any sort of competition. Like even though there's like the least lowest amount of probability happening, if it happens, then you just gotta move on. I doubt like, and then like I also read about the fact that like Kameda was happy because of the Prime leaving, which I would assume makes sense. You know, like if it's whatever went through behind the scenes in that organization and everything he like that Prime had done were true. Because I'm not sure, I'm not into the French community as much, so Ethan can be maybe
Ethan can
you
tell us
can correct me
exactly
on
what's
that.
true,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
I
probably
can tell
100%
you
right.
exactly because Kameto also came back a bit on it yesterday. Honestly, he was happy for many stuff. Obviously, he was very enthusiastic because of the fact that that Prime was leaving. It's been like a few days. He has been very happy on stream, looking like always with the smile, losing solo queue and still smiling, which is very uncommon from Kameto. But there was like that. There was that exact moment where LR lost, and what he said about it was, I mean, it was a win-win situation for us that we lost against Heretics because it's either G2 is out or Los Ratones is out. And in both cases, I would have been happy. That's what he said. And actually, that's completely understandable, you know. In one side, like on, if you take his POV, because obviously Kameto was one of the CEOs that took the more that were the more vocal about the fact he didn't want LR to happen in GLC, right? Like
mm-hmm.
in this way, because he's very like he's for LR and GLC in the good way, you know, like he said it a ton of time, like it's very good for us if they come in, if they join GLC because they bring a lot of viewership and stuff. But in this manner, he was one of the more vocal about it, that he doesn't want it to happen. So he was happy actually that they were. He was kind of happy that they were out. But on the other end, why he was so happy is that it's either them or G2. So for him, it was a win-win situation because if G2 doesn't make playoff, obviously he's happy because they are always a threat, right? So that's why he was happy, as well as the fact that Prime was out. That made him much more enthusiastic in general.
Which is fair. Like I honestly, I wouldn't be happy to see like a team lose to Team Heretics. To be honest, it's not like I don't like this Team Heretics. It's just that from my perspective, I feel like the expectations I have right now a little bit of KC is like I want them to stomp everything, so at least we can send someone good to international, so somewhat relevant. You know, I kind of want to
But
see like a uh like G2 has been struggling this year, especially in best of ones. Um, I kind of want to see someone who I feel confident of in sending to first hand, for example.
but
But
for example, I don't know if you saw, but like if you look at the player cams, Calist was so tilted every time he died and
no,
stuff.
fair, but that's
And yeah, but the issue is Calist received death threats, you know, in DMs, and that's what I was talking about when I said because he spoke about it on Kameto stream, Kalis, that he received like a lot of death threats and stuff. And you know, that's what I was talking about when I said the minority of, like, there's a minority of LR fans that can bring that to the table, as well as there are a minority of KC fans that can be really toxic and stuff. Like it's the same in every big community. I feel like, you know, even if you look at sports. So yeah, I just hope this serves as a lesson. Honestly, I just hope this serves as a lesson for every big communities that, you know, there are always downside in this situation, and just accept it and don't judge an entire community out of um, 1,000 message, because 1,000 message is minorities in these situations.
Yeah, and
No,
you're right
that's
saying
fair.
that,
I
but
mean, like,
you're right saying that can happen with sports. Because think of a team like Arsenal, that's like not particularly a big team with not that many fans, but even there, you just see so many like absolute brain dead fans everywhere, online, offline.
Guys, don't do like Lee and go to the Tottenham Spurs Reddit. Like you will not be happy. Honestly, you will not. It's not a good experience. Don't do that.
Don't know why you'd be in there, mate. But anyway, but well, I was going to say though, it is a bit of a shame, I think, with Los Ratones, because I remember I'd not seen anything recently, but I just remember like when the project first started and they were in the NLC. I don't know if you guys remember, there was like fans were going in like the chat of other people that were streaming, like other people that were streaming the games live, and were like giving them shit. And Cagel had a whole thing like, if you find anyone in my stream that's been like in somebody else's stream flaming them for losing, then they get banned, and like really making an effort to stop like toxic behavior like that. So at least from that, like I always had the impression that he genuinely tried to manage the audience, because like obviously there's always going to be some, but at least you can do your best to sort of cull the crazies out, or just encourage people not to be arseholes. But yeah, even then, it's going to happen, and a bit of a shame.
for me, it was just like
Yeah.
I was watching Casual's stream the other day when it was G2 Fnatic, and literally like I was
Silence.
I was like, I was watching, I was trying to stay focused on the game because I actually wanted to watch the game. But then I was looking at like Cadrill's face the whole time on the side screen. It was like, man, that's so sad. I feel so
Yeah.
bad for the man. Just like,
Yeah.
you know, like everyone was been saying oh, if we were in like zero, like if we were in like 5-6, there probably would have felt better, because it's honestly like it's so sad to be like taken out in that manner. But obviously, like there's always going to be the discussion of like they should have played better, they should have done more. But it's obviously like see it unfold in front of your eyes, that in that way, it's just very, very terrifying for me. Like it's I just want, like, you know, like I cannot understand how I would feel, how all the players and like how he would feel. But like and then I went back to watch the Crown interview that Elias had. The guy was so tilted. Like literally he knew it probably would have been like a, you know, it wouldn't been a bad like it would have been a bad start for them to lose the opening match on the last day. And I just would hope that the players don't take it too harshly on themselves, because it happens, you know. Whether it's Nemesis for that tower dive, whether it was Crowny for some of the off games he had during this run, because I think at least from what I've seen, the step up they had and the expectations we had coming in uh, were for me were honestly much lower than what we saw. So I'm still very like positive and surprised that it went the way it went, and the fact that they also went down to beat some of the top teams just made it clear that, for me, like the gap at this point between top ERL teams and bottom LEC teams is not that far. If like there always was that discussion of like last year when people were saying, oh, like should we have more ERL teams, and like should we see ERL teams go against LEC teams? And for me it's like, if you take KCB and Los Ratones as an example, the gap is not that far, which is a positive thing. It means that there's like a thriving pool of talents in the tier 2 scene. Unfortunately, we don't have enough capacity and the resources right now to make them develop, which then goes back to, if honestly, if like tier 2 were good enough, Lost Ratones would be good enough as a project to stay, if it was if the scene was strong enough to make them their time worth in there, we probably wouldn't see the end of Lost Ratones. So that's another thing that I wanted to point out, that it's probably like Lost Ratones and even KCB are like kind of in a limbo where they're like super strong for tier 2, but at the same time a little on the lower end for tier 1. And so without a proper space for them, they either stomp one or they don't get accepted into the other one. So
Would
you
you
just
say-
gotta want.
Do you think they will stomp ERL right now if they were still on it?
I think you mean LR or KCB?
LR.
I still think that they would like stomp, but just like you would probably see them constantly top 4. I think EMA Masters. I doubt that they can like be anything below. But even like LR last year when they were struggling in summer, they still ended up top 4. I still think that there's whatever they got from LEC teams from this split. I think the level they've shown and the way they've been playing has been much cleaner and more prone to the meta, which is something that they didn't really used to do as much last year for me. Which technically for means that they get one extra layer of of a dynamic that makes them technically like stronger on paper because they stick to something that's technically powerful, which is the meta. From the way I see it, especially from like compared to like the start of the season where you would just see like Baus, he either stomps top lane or gets stomped by a counter matchup, and then it comes down to how the rest of the guys play the map, because Baus will continue to play the way he has always been. I feel like it's been a very interesting thing to see how Baus transformed as a player over the course of 2 months at the top level. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this. Aside from the fact that I think like Nemesis should stay in the LEC, because like there's the whole discussion of should he stay in the LEC, and I think my answer is a certain yes. So I wish that if the LR project doesn't go doesn't go forward, he might be able to find something else that he might like in terms of projects and play competitively if he wants to.
Yeah, because he could have been all these years really, but I feel like he only would have come for like he feels like he should be on a contender team, doesn't he? Really, but
Yeah.
so I think that's like the only way it's gonna happen. It's kind of nice if it is going to be the end of that journey, and especially for Baus as a pro player as well. Given the things he said about not really enjoying being a pro, so maybe the writing's on the wall there that he'll just go back to streaming. It's nice that we got to see that one Scion game come out as the last one, and then it be like typically, I forget what his actual kill death record was, but it was shocking, wasn't it? Yeah, 3-12, 3-12 down, and still be up in gold in lane, dying like behind the second turret, proxy farming, all sorts. So it's nice that we could see one like mad Scion game, and it didn't feel like it was even that much of a detriment to them either, because they were sort of playing around it, doing stuff on the opposite sides when he was getting ganked over and over. So yeah, nice that he could pull it out once at least, or they'll probably leave him. Do we go to another team then, or what do you guys? What's your predictions for what happens now with Los Ratones? Before we move on.
I don't know. There has been that theory that maybe they would go to another tier 1 region for a split.
Where could they go?
I don't
though?
know about it, but I kind of like it. Honestly, I feel like if I see them in LCP or in LCS, even in CBLOL, that would be fun, you know. Like we have a road tour, like a world tour of Los
Like bloody
Ratones in the
Harlem
air.
Globetrotters.
Honestly, like I was thinking to the same. I was actually thinking the same thing. Like regardless of whether the 5 players will stay, I wouldn't mind if we see like the LR project kind of continue somewhere in a place that it can actually thrive. And I actually think like having something like like LR going to the LCP or like even the LCS is actually something that benefits both because like technically you would like LR gets what they want, which is competing tier one. At the same time, the league benefits from having that team and it's having the guest slots and not having to like find a way to like pay so much money to get into like into a competition would probably make
But
sense, you know.
but at the same time, if they can take the spot of SK, for example, I wouldn't mind, you know. Like so, if that's a possibility, I
Why,
take it.
bro? You so hard on SK? Why does it have to be SK?
I was
Luckily,
hard on them.
he's so sad. Like the guy got punched over the entire
Fine.
split. Unfortunately,
I mean, I was I was hard on them before the split, you know. But yeah, the split just reinforced my feeling about them, I guess.
Yeah, to be fair, like before this roster, I would totally agree with you. I think it was nice seeing them try something, but yeah, it's got a bit flat in it.
Still whatever. So
Yeah, that could be an idea. Like there's maybe every year Cadrel rebuilds a team in a new region with a few streamers and whatever, or ex players from that region, so there's no like import issues or something. You could go to NA and get some old players around, and try and get them back in. I know like the near airport thing tried it and did it basically already, but they didn't have the work ethic, I think, to see it through. So that's maybe one thing you could do. Yeah.
Do you guys see another team than SK that LR could take the spot of in GLC?
shifters.
I mean, I would have agreed, but the fact that they are trying,
Yeah,
I
if they
feel
hadn't
like they
just
are
done a
trying.
rebrand, then
Yeah,
maybe shifters. It feels like a bit of harsh timing now that they're trying
yeah.
something.
So they just bring like 2 Koreans, with Rooster that would have been HLE top laner normally. Like I feel like they are trying. They bring Trimby, It's just
I mean, like,
the
but
luck
even
doesn't
even
smile.
SK wasn't like too bad, you know. I don't think like we've seen the true extent of SK, to be honest. Like I think we've probably like seen it like two series out of the 11 that they played.
What was it that when you were doing your interviews, Ethan? What was it that people were saying about SK that? Because I remember at the time you felt that maybe you'd
Yeah,
undervalued them because everyone in the league seemed to be like really excited about them.
yeah, they were saying that they were like, I think like most of them, like most of the coaches were telling me, yeah, they are trying something and they have a clear vision of what they want, and that can actually work. That's what they were saying, and also the fact that for them SK couldn't have dream of a better roster, so they had all the like everything they couldn't have better, basically. But I do feel like actually they could be a threat in BO3, And since Spring will be BO3 only, like actually it can smile at them. I'm eager to see how they will do in BO3.
In terms of SK and Shifters, that are the two like actual LEC teams that are out already, would you see them doing any changes, either of them?
Would you see them doing Fnatic casual?
You mean?
Considering I mean, I don't know. Like, I have like this thought of what if Fnatic does something with casual, because both of them are UK. Fnatic is
He's worked with
technically
them, isn't he? He
considering
was.
selling.
I don't think
there could
Cadwell can buy
If he didn't want to buy an
Fnatic,
LEC
no,
slot,
no,
yeah.
of course, but like it could be, there could be something on there. Maybe I'm like obviously just speculating. I'm just like fantasizing something, but I definitely would see like compared to like seeing SK or shifters with LR, I think like Fnatic would probably like be more aligned in terms of branding and just the way like everyone being in UK probably also helps. Like most
Listen,
of the people working behind the scenes.
it's an angle pre-sale as well. I mean, it's probably something they couldn't do for this year, maybe for next year. But like, imagine if they get him in, they give him some small-ish percentage in
They worked
stake
with
in.
him before, by the way.
Yeah, but imagine they bring him in. They say, all right, you're like technically a co-owner. Maybe you've got, I don't know, 5% stake in the company, or less if their valuation really is 100 million. But they get him in, and for a year he's boosting Fnatic. He's got some of his mates on the team. They're getting hundreds of thousands of viewers. They're selling all the T-shirts. Like they're the biggest team in the league, and that's when they're trying to bring someone in to sell the whole organization, and they can say, look how popular we are. We've got the most popular streamer in the world on our team. We've got all the viewers.
And
Bump
then
up their
Casual is just
valuation.
scammed or what?
Is it a scam if he's bringing the numbers for real? If he stays anyway, and then everyone wins except for maybe the investors. Is that Cadra would get a nice percentage of it as well for that Excel for a massive price that they're hoping for. It works.
Yeah, but financially it's cool. But like for the community, what they follow Cadrell into another new project, then he sells it. So they just
Maybe
what
if they
does
can
it-
sell it and he stays, maybe he just becomes the face of it. But
Mm.
that idea that originated here. So if Hot Takes needs a finder's fee for setting that up, full percentage ourselves.
And I feel like, for example, Cadrell, I don't think he mind that much about Valorant so far. So he would have a good Valorant team for what, for example. So
That's why
yeah.
they make him like a small part owner, and they just let him bother with the league stuff, just so they can boost the numbers and get a nice fat
Yeah, I
sale.
could see that. I don't think it's the most probable.
No, definitely it's
case.
not like the one going to be the most probable. It's just that I'm going like honestly, I'd rather see him on something like Fnatic rather than like something like SK, to be honest. Like I doubt that like even if he goes into like cause the thing is like if he goes to SK, he must have like kind of like a Mickey X moment where he just like gets so much authority over the league project. I would think, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Like why would he do that? You know, because the whole point of Los Ratones was the fact that he kind of gets to not call the shots, obviously,
Yeah.
as like just himself, but just like he's kind of like the face of it, and
Got the freedom to do whatever projects.
he's got like a lot more freedom to choose and do what he wants. But yeah, that was like just an idea that came pop up to me. Like I didn't even like think it beforehand. It was like it just came through because like I wanted to talk about Fnatic and the fact that I think they are. It's kind of sad to see that. I feel like the team hasn't progressed much from the start of the season up until now, and it starts to be a little bit concerning to me, especially going to playoffs. Because like the way they have been performing has been not what I expect from Fnatic, to be honest. I'm not sure what you guys think, but
Totally agree. I feel like it might be the worst team we're sending in playoff to me.
yeah, I also think too. I actually think that there's like Team Heretics had a big. We were talking about it last week, right? Had a big glow up, but I think the main thing that about Team Heretics, I still stand by what I said. This is that they found their dimension. They're kind of like Lost Ratones, where they found their own dimension, and that works, especially in best of ones, because that's the format they've been playing on. We don't know how that will transition to BO3, but like if you have found your dimension, it's working. You keep on sticking, play with it. You're obviously going to have a higher floor, which is something that, for example, I haven't seen from Fnatic. Like if Heretics had gone up like slowly with like a growing trend, like Fnatic has kind of stayed stagnant for me, and it starts to be a little bit concerning because I would expect a little bit more from this kind of players, especially considering that like Razor, Vladi, and Upset are, you know, what I think still very good players in their own roles, especially Upset, obviously, which I think it makes me kind of wonder like what's the issue at hand, because it's like people they keep saying on that their early game execution is weak, that they don't know how to play. Like Razok is the only one that seems to wanting to play proactively, but then the rest of the team doesn't. Sometimes Lospa falls him, sometimes he doesn't, and then it just looks like it's very disjointed, which is literally what happened last year, which is literally what happened 2 years ago. So it's like I'm still like, why is that the case? Why are we not able to try something different or find, I don't know, not even like find the solution, because I don't even know what the solution would be, if it's something that you cannot fix in 2 years, what would be the solution?
I mean, the solution is changes, honestly. Like right
Yeah,
now,
but like
I don't
they've
see
done
it otherwise.
changes. The thing is, like, they've changed mid top at like top mid top and jungle, and it's still not working. So I'm
I think
like,
the biggest issue to me lies in Vladi. And I'm very sad to say that because I feel like he was such an incredible talent and I still hope he is, But right now, like it can be acceptable, to lose every laning phase as a mid laner. Especially in how the game is working right now. Mid lane is so important to enable your jungler, to enable your support as well, because every support right now rotates through mid. And yeah, right now Vladi is just losing every mid lane. That's just not possible. I think maybe the best shot that Fnatic has is to try to make him improve on the very good laning champions. Like I don't know, maybe work with him on this Oriana, work with him on this, answer to Rise with like Anivia and stuff, and just try to make him very good at those champions. Because if he goes for the Azir, if he goes for the Rise, for those kind of stuff, he will get abused in lane, and that's not possible. At this level, if you get abused in lane in the mid lane, then you lose the game. That's how it goes. Obviously, he's not the only responsible, right? But yeah, I do feel like when like him, Upset and Razok are very reliable in late game team fights, in mid game, and that's how they got most of their win because they were losing every early games. But yeah, in playoff it won't be enough. So it's either you find a solution straight away to those problems you have with your early game, with your laning phase, or you will go out in a very bad way. You will lost O2 twice, and that's it. That's the end of your splits. Um, and yeah, I do feel like I don't see it changing in spring. I don't see it like I don't see the miracle happen in spring and have them on another dimension given how they play the split. So yeah, I'm curious. I honestly feel like it can stay like that, or this roster won't achieve anything. This roster won't go to worlds. So there has to be a change of dynamic somewhere. Maybe Razor Cupset don't work well anymore together. Like maybe it's like acted that they can play together because there was all that those discussions about Razor and Upset can't work together after last year. But then in the end, Grubs told me is that he put his neck on the line by saying, no worries. It's just an issue of having only two players talking and the other three being NPCs. And right now, what he said is like, right now we have 5 players speaking, so that should be working better. In the end, I'm sorry, but I don't see Upset and I don't see either Upset or Razork working well together right now. Even in bot lane, they are not like, if you look at them last year, they were much better in early game playing through bots than they are right now. Maybe Lospa is not working well in terms of laning phase. I don't know what's going on, but there's probably an issue as well in there. So maybe what you need to do is just change your jungler, change your bot lane, whatever. But you need to find something to bring a new dynamic, because this roster, I don't see it evolving as we had last year, as we had every year with Fnatic. With rosters that looked kind of good and bad at the same time, and then suddenly when it comes to world qualification, they qualify because they just look better. I don't see it happen this time with this roster, because there are not enough of good sides to it. So yeah, I just hope it's also for Fnatic fans because like it's been a while, man. My guys need some uh, some happiness, you know. Just give them a bit of that.
They got NAVI first as well. Not an easy matchup. I mean, there wouldn't probably be any easy matchup for him the first one. Let's move on.
That wouldn't be the worst one, I think. Like when there is G2, KC, MKOI, all the stuff. I mean, even Vitality. I think Vitality against MKOI might be the most interesting match.
Yeah, same. I agree. Definitely. I wanted to talk about Vitality as well because for once I want to praise them for not being so flippy, even though they're still a little bit flippy.
They're still flippy. That's why it's fun, you know.
They still think that it's like it's somehow turned them into their favor. It's like they won a lot more than I expected, because I was expecting them to be like closer to 6, 5, 5th, and 6th, and they ended up 3rd. But yeah, like actually, I think that the combo is actually starting to work. Like I'm starting to see it. Like Humanoid is, for me, has been like progressing. The rest of the team is doing quite well. I still think that Nako is literally second to Kana for me right now. I would be quite sure to say that those are our top 2 top laners. But
yeah, we did a tier list yesterday with like the French podcast with OTP, and we said the same. We put them like both of them in S tier. And we put like a gap. We put no one in A, and then we put the rest in B. Because to me, there's a gap between.
That's rough though.
I think there's a gap between both of them and the rest of the league, honestly, in top lane.
Yeah, no, fair. I agree. It's just
also,
kind of hard to say.
Can you not advertise our competitors on this show, please?
Yeah.
But what did you say?
Can you stop advertising our competitors, please?
Sorry, I don't get. I don't get it.
Our rival shows, rival podcasts, giving them ads.
Yeah.
Free ads.
But don't worry. I'm giving you ads as well.
Okay. Good. Okay,
I'm giving you ads as well. I'm saying, you know where I'm with this international guys. You know that Spurs guy, that Milan guy.
Ethan is the LR version of the podcast. He just goes around the globe and like takes.
And
promotes everyone.
Okay, you're off
but
the
no,
hook.
but jokes aside, it's been nice to see. I guess I'm down to seeing a little bit of diversity, in terms of how things have been shaking up. I just think that we're going to see such a different BO3, like such a different standings from when we come to BO3s. That's my impression still, because I feel like yes, it's like if you take multiple BO1s and then you take up the records, they can tell you somewhat how a team performed. But I feel like everyone literally in this league, probably except KC, I would assume, will have a different will have a different showing when we have Fearless. That's my 2 cents. Probably not a hot take, but yeah.
I think it's not that KC would have that much of a different showing. I think it's more on the other teams that will align with KC. I think that G2 and MKOI, for example, when they want to win, they are winning. I think we saw that in that last day. You know, MKOI did a very convincing win against NAVI, which is looking very good on paper, right? And I'm not even speaking about G2 that looked like on another dimension against Fnatic, given how they looked before that. So yeah, I just feel like the other teams will align. You know, I have no doubt about that. And so that's why it will be interesting, because to me, Vitality MKOI can go both sides really. Like it doesn't even depend that much on whether MKOI will align or not, because I think they will whatever. But I do think like Vitality can win the league if the coin land on the good side. Vitality could win the league to me. I can see them winning against MKOI. I can see them winning against basically everyone in the league. And I think they proved it already in regular season. If they, find their footing in BO3, which I think they will strive. I think they will strive in BO3 because I think they have very good players when it comes to Champions Pool and stuff. And yeah, I think that will be fun. That will be fun because there are 4 teams that could take it in the end, to me. I don't know if you agree, but yeah, and those 4 teams are looking like I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 4 win it in the end. I would be very, very surprised if Team Heretics or GIANTX or NAVI wins it. Honestly,
Who's the fourth
in
then?
the end, because
So Navi's not in your 4?
it's Vitality,
Yeah, but who? KC, Vitality, and who else?
MKOI G2.
Harsh on Navi.
Because no, I feel like Navi, they have too much inexperienced player. I feel like whenever the good teams will play at their best form, Navi to me gave their everything in regular season already. I don't see them taking another dimension in BO3. Even more because I think they were the team that found their identity the earlier. When you look, at Los Ratones and Team Heretics, for example, it was very tricky for them to qualify because they found out their identity and their way of playing the game. But from week 3, even like end of week 2. And Navi, they already knew from the start they wanted to have relation carry, mentor on weak side champions, and then you just take a support and a mid laner that would enable your jungler and your ADC to completely carry the game. Rilesh will invade your jungler. He will play very aggressive in your face because he's very talented and skilled player, and it worked. It was their recipe and it worked straight away. So I feel like when the champion pool will tighten, when you won't have access to Giambesa, Giatrox, this kind of stuff, the carries, the Jace and stuff, I feel like Navi can run out of options. And it can be either in BO3 or in BO5, but I think they will eventually. And yeah, just the fact also they're inexperienced, I would be very, very surprised to see them go through against such teams as KC, G2, and MKOI.
Yeah, especially with Fearless as well. Like once we having only seen teams like that, like a rookie team like Navi, best of ones. Once they start pinching them a bit, any other teams in particular you guys want to chat about? There's still plenty we haven't touched on. But it's awkward because some of them, I mean, it's obviously hard to get takeaways from best of ones anyway. And then, just what I'm thinking is where the split happened so quickly as well, and there was a super weeks. It feels like a lot of the narratives kind of got just like cemented after 1 week, and then it almost felt like weird for them to change. Like with Vitality, the first week already, people were like harsh on the changes they've done and letting Pad be the head coach and all that. And then they end up coming out third, but it still doesn't feel like the perception's kind of caught up that they're a third place team. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. But
I still think their potential has been showing, and that's why I put them in in the top 4, and I would not be that surprised if they won the split in the end, because I think they look consistent. They found their footing. They found their way of playing the game. They're on the same page, which has been kind of Vitality's main issue in the recent years. But right now they are on the same page. The 5 players want to play the game the same way. And yeah, I just feel like they found a recipe as well. The thing that separates them from a team like Navi is that they have much more experience in their roster. And also the fact that I just see the 5 players and I think, okay, these guys can go to BO5 and still have options, for sure.
What are we thinking then on KOI and G2? Because they've both been a bit rocky, but then they've probably, I think it's fair to say that both of them kind of ended the split with their best matches, and like in the final match, both of them looked like kind of what we were expecting from them the whole time. I don't know if that's just a ramp up for playoffs or is that a one-off?
You want to start, Davide?
I don't know. Like, I'm still debating because, like, I'm thinking about my top four, and it's currently KC, Vitality, Navi, and then there's like one team between G2 and MKOI. Honestly, I would feel a little bit more optimistic about MKOI. I'm not really sure why. I'm just like gut feeling, but because the thing is, I feel like I've seen the peak potential MKOI at the start of the split, which then they dropped down. Now they're kind of trying to recover, but already shown what could be the best version of closer to like a 90% version of MKOI's potential could be like. I feel like I haven't seen G2's 70, for example. Like I feel like it's only maybe like 75, it's like the maximum I can give to them in that sense. Or like at least from compared to what I would expect from such a team. They always say, like even last time Hansama was saying that they're trying to figure out a few things, and they're usually a little bit more methodical in the way they try to learn the game. But I feel like that G2 really needs that international experience to catch up, because I feel like they're super good at learning from top teams, and then once they play against them, they kind of know how they want to play their own game, and then also find new stuff on top of it. But I think like the way they've been playing the ADC right now is very conditional on the fact that they depends on who they scrim against, which we don't really know. And I feel like it's kind of like an opposite trend where they keep on playing against teams that probably are not super good. Or even the top teams in the NDC right now look a little bit shaky, right? Like I said, aside from KC, might have off games, or like they might have a different read, something different in preparation, and so it doesn't really work out. And that to me sounds a little bit more concerning, because I still don't know how G2 wants to play the game. Honestly, like it feels like they they are obviously super good players. There's no question about that, but it's not clicking as much, and you would kind of question as to why would that be the case, um, after playing together for 1 year. And if I take this year's G2 compared to the 2024 one, where Yike had his own, like he had his year, um, like he already had a year. Like the G2 in 2024, I think looked a lot more dominant. You could also argue that that was Mikik's presence doing much of a difference. I think that still plays out a factor, but I don't think it's the whole thing. I don't think that's the only thing that changed, like would cause that much of a gap in performance. So I don't know. I'm very concerned right now about G2, because I still think they should be Kings of Europe, or like close to contending for Kings of Europe for the crown, and I don't see them anywhere close right now, considering that the other top four teams I just mentioned, and the fact that it's like they only get like 2 weeks together. Like there's like, but 3 weeks considering this one of break, they have 3 weeks to turn up. Maybe not even, because they have to go through the first rounds. But in total, to actually get to like a level that I would expect from them.
And you don't see that happen? Because honestly,
No, I can see that happening. It's just that I'm kind of the person that I'm not like too convinced that this is what I'm saying. Like, if it were even if like G2 hadn't had that off period in the week 3, like in such a way, I would have been a little bit more optimistic. I feel like right now they can have that, or like maybe in BO3 they just completely change colors. That could be it as well, but I don't think in current moment I would rate them higher than the other four I said.
Okay. Because honestly, me, I think, when I think of G2, even last year, I remember a lot of up and downs in regular season, especially, in winter and spring. They were looking very bad in regular season, like they had some very big lows. But in the end, when it came to playoff, they always came back and looked like the best team until final. So yeah, I would expect the same, honestly, especially given how they looked in this last decisive game for them. You can see that when the team needs to do well, they will find a solution. And yeah, I think when it comes to BO3 and stuff, they just have an advantage over the other teams because it is a team that looks like they are always prepared to those situations to have to go deeper on the champion pool and stuff. And yeah, but to me, what like the players that are the most concerning right now are like the bot lane and the top lane in G2. Like I feel like Labrov and Hans are looking completely off. I don't know what's happening, and actually it's fun because this last game was the total opposite. They were looking very good. And then yeah, BB. I'm starting to wonder, because last year he had that big slump, in at MSI and stuff, and especially even like the entire year, I feel like he was not looking good at all. And like when it came to Worlds, I think he improved a lot. When it came even to EWC, he improved a lot, but I still feel like in summer it was not like that important in how G2 played. But in the end, like, most of the year I kind of saw him as a passenger of this team. Like I didn't have the impression that he was doing extra stuff or that he was the same BB as we used to know with the other G2, that would even carry the bot lane and stuff when they were doing wrong. That were finding, those spicy picks that would like win him some games, especially because we were in the first year of Fearless Draft last year, and still I haven't seen him being that creative as when we were not in Fearless Draft. So maybe that's the issue actually. Maybe the fact that now we're in Fearless Draft means that he has to play accordingly to adapt to every situation, and that he can't really prepare those spicy counter picks that he had before. I still feel like he tried last year, with the Kled, with the Warwick, with those kind of stuff. It just didn't work out. So yeah, I'm starting to wonder if he's still, having fun, or I don't know if he's still willing to find those picks and stuff. I feel like he's trying again. Like I saw him with the Lee Sin, but with the Lee Sin to answer the Rumble. But in the end, it's the same as the Warwick last year. It didn't work, so maybe he just dropped it now. I don't know how it goes, how he sees it. But yeah, I'm just starting to be kind of skeptical about BB because like last year was not the best for him, and this year is not starting well at all as well. So I hope for him that he will bounce back. Because otherwise, I won't be that surprised to see G2 starting to think of other options, especially as we said, Naknako is looking terrifying, right now. Yet he's still under contract with Vitality until 2027, I feel like. I think so. Yeah, I don't know if they will be down to even buy out or anything, but in the end, it's just that I feel like BB is not finding his footing since 2024. And I hope that he can bounce back this year. And yeah, just I want to see him find those creative picks and just carry games on his own. Just be ahead in lane and then take his lead elsewhere, like he always did with the last iteration of G2. And yeah,
Tricky for G2 as well if it came to a point they wanted to replace him. I guess it's probably something to revisit towards the end of the season, just because G2 don't typically make changes mid-year either. So if they're going to drop in, probably would be at the end of the year. But then he's like their captain, like out of the game. He's up, which is fair play to him, because it's not something I don't think he had always had that sort of role of being like the motivator and doing the team talks. Like from when I've interviewed him over the years, it was something that he like worked on specifically because he wanted to take that responsibility. And then
Especially
now
after Jankos left,
yeah. So then now in that lineup, like him being that kind of voice out of the game, of the one that can motivate everyone, do a speech before the match. Like I don't, they lose that as well. So even if he's not playing that well in the game, they're like losing that key figure outside of it.
I think from what I heard, Kumon could take that role, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like maybe the first year he was like kind of,
Quiet.
he caught up. It was his rookie year, he was quite impressed to play with caps and stuff. There's always that feeling. But I think now that he has overcome that, I know that he's a big shot caller, that's for sure. He takes a big part in G2's communication, which BB did before him, When there was Yike before Skumond, it was BB that was the main shot caller of the team. I think he still is a big shot caller, but Skumond is taking way more space than Yike. And maybe that's the issue as well, Maybe the fact that they have too much IDs is not helping them in a way. But in the end, I feel like Skumon could take that role now that he has overcome that, imposter syndrome maybe that he might have had when he joined. I think he could take on that role. But you're right that it has been the role of BB until then. So kind of weird to let him go given that, but. Yeah, if the performances doesn't align with his mindset or with the style that you want to implement, with the captain leadership he has, you can't let that.
Yeah.
You have to find a solution.
Yeah, in game's got to be the priority, hasn't it? That's fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about the shifters stuff. I know we mentioned shifters like briefly, and I guess maybe performance-wise is not that much has changed since we last spoke about. And they had a 2-0 week, but it was against like the two other worst teams in the league, so not that much impressive. They didn't make it into playoffs, but the bigger stuff is what happened outside of that anyway. And I don't know if there'd been some drama brewing with 113 and BDS and Striker since he left. I'd not seen anything about it. They just after they got eliminated, 113, obviously the former jungler, just come out with this tweet. Oh shit, the thing's cut it off a little bit, but what it says is that it starts with "Who would have guessed?" at Striker. So he's literally tagged Striker in it as well, which is the even funnier part.
It's not behind his back or anything.
Exactly.
He's sending him straight to his face in front of
everyone. So he gets all the notifications as well. So who would have guessed? At Striker, lol coach, benching your players for a whole week in scrims before officials, shouting to your players 24/7 in reviews, forcing your players to add LEC players so they leak which champions they play in scrims was not the key for success. So sad. And that wasn't even all of it. In the reply, Ice, who's it's gone as well. Hold on. Ice, who was obviously on BDS last year, now on Team Heretics, who did get into playoffs, replied to 113 saying, "I did it for you." So seeming to co-sign 113's complaints about Striker and whatever shenanigans have been happening. I don't know. Maybe Ethan, have you? Maybe since this is, I know it's not a French team, but it's sort of French community aligned. Had there been previous before this, or has this like literally just come out of nowhere?
I mean, obviously no. Obviously, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like Striker has always been kind of controversial. I feel like. I think it's ever since he left KC. I think like especially after because he's always a coach that has been very vocal about what's happening in the team. Very like he is very transparent. Maybe a bit too much. Like for example, I remember, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's like a meme in the French community where Striker wrote a comment under like Casey, like basically Casey was playing in summer 2024. No, in summer 2023, they were playing, in the EMEA Masters with Calist. And it was like the year after Striker left, and the year after Striker played with Reckless in KC, because Striker coached Reckless for a bit. And like, I think Kais just flashed in and did the crazy play or something, and Striker wrote in the comments of the like in the Twitch channel, he wrote, it's not the I don't know how you would say that, but like the blondie, I guess it's the blondie. Blondie means like the blonde guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the blonde girl actually is like kind of the blondie, but in terms of like the blonde girl, it's not the other blondie that would have done that. Talking about Reckless.
Holy shit!
And it's like a French meme. Like everyone is like sharing this quote and this photo in France. And like, yeah, he has always been that kind of guy. There has been that controversy with Adam as well, where he benched him after an argument they had in BDS. Yeah, he has always been that kind of coach that looks like kind of very strict, that want to play the game by the book, that will force you to work like a Korean, basically.
I mean, that was fair. Like, it makes sense. No, because like I remember there was like an iteration of BDS that was quite strong, and
They were pushing for a title, weren't they? Years ago.
They were like appreciated for their macro, which was very LCK like, and they felt like
totally.
that was probably that was like the
And
but go on,
in
sorry.
2024. But you're right. Like he always had that style, and yeah, I feel like last year didn't go well at all. I know there has like I haven't heard of anything, but like it's kind of obvious there has been issues within the player management, or with how the player were treated last year. Not because I have any information or anything, or not because I put the blame on Striker for like treat like bad the players or anything, but when you look at, for example, Paris, who looked like the best support in ERL by far, that looked like a very promising rookie coming into GLDC, that really wanted to go to G2, for example, and he has been like kind of jailed by BDS to stay in the main team. And yeah, it didn't work out, right? I feel like it was kind of showing that he was not comfortable with the environment, with how he played and stuff, especially given the talent of the player. And obviously, BDS are not as well the only responsible of jailing players. There has been many orgs that did that in the past. But yeah, even the whole chemistry between the team didn't work out. You saw 113 going out very early, then he buy out Bukada for 200k. So the French community even more like went crazy on him. Like, how can you buy out Bukada for 200k? And so yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I feel like he's not very appreciated in the French community right now. He has also he has been there has been a controversy also, because there has been a leak of him GMing girls and stuff. But what Striker said is that it was like someone hacking him or something, someone hacking his account and sending GMs to people. So yeah, he has a lot of controversy. He is a very controversial guy. Even him doesn't hide from it. He knows that he speaks a lot, even publicly and stuff. And so the fact that he speaks a lot exposes him in a way, because if he doesn't back up his words with actual results, then it can go as it goes right now. And yeah, last year was very rough for him, because I think he was flamed very hard because of that drama I'm talking about, especially. So yeah, now what he told me was, when you at the start of the season we did an interview, as you know, I did an interview with every coaches and stuff, and what Striker told me is that right now I want to like kind of stay away from socials, accept the fact that I'm gonna get criticized because I didn't perform well last year. So this year it will be by performance, that I will buy myself a new reputation, kind of. And yeah, so far it hasn't gone the way you wanted, I guess.
I feel like that kind of coach as well, when you're going to be the one that's, especially like man management style, going to be the harsh one, like we're going to be strict, we're going to be methodical, I'm not going to accept players that aren't on board. So Adam, if you're being disruptive, or like I can't remember the exact things that were meant to have happened, but if you're, I don't care if it's a week before playoffs, which I think it was at the time, or I think it was mid playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm going to bench you no matter what. Like the way I want to do it is how we do it. That sort of thing, that sort of style. It looks good on a coach when you are getting when you're getting results. So when they are a team that's pushing for the top 3, like when they, in terms of their lineup, probably didn't have a right to be near the top 3 a couple of years back, and they were consistently up there. Then it looks great, and you say, "Oh God, this guy is, he's got his method. He's strict. He keeps them in line, and look, it's paying off." The thing that with that kind of style, especially if you have players that do stick around with that same system, with that same coach for a while, like it does get old. Like to take like like a Jose Mourinho type who has the thing of like being very intense and will be strict, and if he doesn't like a player, that player's done. That kind of style can get results, and then you look at like a Jose Mourinho figure, by like year 2 or 3, every single team falls apart because it's just not consistent either.
Exactly,
That's the
yeah.
thing. Like it's intense.
That's the thing with Mourinho as well. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. It's very intense. It can get the best out of players.
He wins the title whenever he joined the team, and then the 2 years after, it's like it's completely doomed.
Not
the
every
club has to
team.
rebuild for
There's
4 years.
There's not a title for every team, unfortunately, with Jose Mourinho. But,
Yeah,
but most of
like,
the time, yeah, you get. I mean,
there are
BDS
teams that
probably,
are not that you can't take to a title.
Yeah,
Sadly, it's just not possible.
But like BDS, obviously they didn't win a title, but having them like go to Worlds in 2023 is like, that sort of in my eyes is like the equivalent. Like he took a team that no one would have expected to be going for Worlds and pushing top 2, top 3.
And he was
really
one
good
game
season.
away from winning a title.
Yeah.
In LEC as well.
Had that season, and that's where it pays off. But then you get a couple of years down the line, and like, not to say it's directly the reason, but you see like Nuke going like absolutely losing his mind on Twitter. Like having that intense environment means that once it starts going wrong, it gets really bad. But even then, like these things in 113's tweets, where he says about benching your players a whole week in scrims before officials, like I wasn't sure if that is another thing. I was thinking that sounds
it's another thing. It's a new thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to say that sounds like it could be the Adam thing, but it's not quite like that.
No, because he was benched in officials.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Officials, so.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. I don't know if there's maybe more details will come out.
To pressure him, probably,
Yeah.
And actually, I think what was the reasoning behind 113 leaving BDS was that he didn't want to play in LEC anymore, because it was, I don't know, I think either it was too much pressure or he wanted to be closer to his family and stuff. And maybe there's, something in there, maybe that he was just not happy with the way BDS worked as well. And yeah, for example, with Nuke as well, he had a beef, like not a beef, but we knew they were not working well with each other by the end of this year, and that both of them didn't want to play together next year. At the start of the season, they didn't want to play together next year. And I think like the CEO of BDS, which is Alejandro, kind of bring them like achieve the big feat of bringing them together again, and like make them sit to a table and just like sort over whatever argument they had and stuff. And now they should be at the same, like on the same They should have found a balance, basically. But yeah, yet they didn't qualify to playoffs, so I hope it doesn't break them again. Because honestly, I do feel like, I don't know what you guys think, but I do think like this team had a potential, you know? I
I
don't
mean,
see in
I had
game
them
what I
pretty low
saw
in my power rankings, and I was ridiculed
Yeah.
for it. So that's my only one thing enjoying seeing this happen, but just selfishly. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, when we spoke about it, I did feel like, oh, maybe I've been a bit harsh because the lineup doesn't look
Yeah.
horrific.
You know, they had very convincing win. Like even against MKOI and stuff, they had wins where they completely rolled over the opponent, you know? But yet, yeah, they didn't qualify. I feel like they threw a lot. They threw so many games for no reason, you know. They had they always find a way to get leads and then they kind of throw it. I think Bukada has not been looking like the best. Trimby as well. But yeah, I do feel like, for example, Rooster and Paddock looked kind of clean, you know. Nuke had ups and downs, but kind of as always with Nuke, when his team is not like consistent, he struggled to find consistency as well. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this team is not looking that bad, so I'm kind of sad to see them out, honestly, because I think they could have had they could have deserved the spot as well.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
joint on win with 8th place in Fnatic, so it's not like it's been disastrous entirely.
Yeah.
But just there's the final things on that tweet as well, because the other like the things he's mentioned specifically about the benching, shouting out your players 24/7, which is where I'm kind of saying like you can be intense and when it works, and when it doesn't, it's really not good. But the third thing he mentions, forcing your players to add LEC players so they can leak which champs they play in scrims. That's maybe a little bit like trying to be a bit sly, and maybe you think is not often going to have much impact. I don't really see an issue with trying to get your players to do that, though. That's like the kind of thing of just you're trying to look for any extra 1% or 0.5% of something that can make a slight difference. I don't really see an issue with that one. But
yeah, same.
But anyway, maybe to round off on.
Like I don't know if it's like forcing, if he really forced him, like he didn't want to.
Yeah, that
and
might be
he
the thing.
forced him.
Yeah, like how intense it was.
That
Like,
might be
no,
fun.
come on, and he take over the PC. Okay, what's
That's it.
add this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Send the messages and ask them what they're playing. No, yeah. So I guess there's probably details behind the scenes to all of it. To be fair, that we don't obviously know the full picture. And there's clearly he's not the only disgruntled one. If Ice is backing him up as well in the comments. But to round off on LEC, let's talk about those rumours of the LEC potentially moving online, which I hadn't heard. I first saw it. Well, you guys messaged yesterday, and I quickly watched the clip of in EuroLeague, Rich, the former H2K owner, mentioned that he'd been hearing rumblings that potentially next year the LEC would go fully online, and then perhaps with more roadshows to make up for it. And that would be the only kind of live stuff. They would do roadshows and they wouldn't do, presumably, studio stuff. What have you guys heard? Have you heard anything on that?
Well, I've heard one thing. I think it came from the Spanish community. I heard that Noah kind of leaked it in an interview or something, because he said that he would be out, that he will probably be his last year, like this year, and that next year in Malaga, and like because JX headquarters are in Malaga.
Right, yeah.
And like it's what everyone kind of went crazy on, because I'm not sure what he said after or anything, but what I've heard is that he said like, and yeah, next year in Malaga and stuff like that, because maybe like next year he knew that they are going to be based in Malaga, you know. And yeah, that's how the Spanish community went kind of off. I didn't hear that much more than that, honestly. But yeah, I do feel like it could be a great opportunity also for the team to create their own events, you know. I don't know if the LEC would allow it. For example, if KC want to play at their stadium some game of LEC, even if the other team is not there, or by bringing the other team when they can, and this kind of stuff, that could be very fun, you know. and I feel like every other team would be interested in promoting their games that way, and maybe that would be a good way to actually get some revenue out of their games in LEC. You know, if you can get people to buy tickets to watch LEC games in your stadium and that you get the entire revenue or whatever, then it's a win-win situation to me. Actually, the studio is not that much interesting, you know. Like the fact we have only like 50 people in the arena at every game. Not only that, but obviously all the other stuff. I feel like the reason why it was cool is that you have every LEC players, staff and stuff gathering at the same place, so you can do interview with them, you can do content with them, and all that stuff. But honestly, outside of that, I don't see it like a necessity at all, you know.
I feel like for sure there would be upsides, but also the thing, I don't know, like having more roadshows, I don't see that should be dependent on the whole rest of the league going online anyway. Like for me, those things don't really link up. They're doing more roadshows this year, and I don't see how it makes much difference. I mean, the LEC still, well, the only difference I could see is that right now the LEC is mainly out of a studio, and they've got staff that now not all of them I guess are on salaries. They're probably on day rates and what have you. But I guess they probably have some sort of retainer to have these staff available so many days throughout the year, and maybe if they don't have any but if they have those, that kind of makes them want to slightly reduce the number of roadshows that are possible, because they want to make the use of this staff that they've got of all these studio people, and they've got the remote workers in Dublin, I think, where they've got like the actual production is based out of. So there's not even really like production staff on site either, but there's always, you know, if you've ever been to them, there's plenty of people running around doing stuff, and it's probably very expensive for them to run the studio as well.
It is.
Like,
I think it is, yeah.
Thousands and thousands every game day. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 10,000 or so. Where you're paying.
And you don't get it, and you don't get anything from having a studio and having people coming and paying for to come, because again, it's only 50 people. And I don't think the tickets are that expensive as well.
I think they basically just do it as cheap as possible, really, to try and just have it filled out. They just want it to look filled most weeks, I think.
So you don't get anything of it. You just lose money anyway in every day of production. So
I don't know. It's awkward because I feel like tangibly there shouldn't be much of an issue. It's just like I don't know, maybe the feeling, like, it just feels a bit less grand.
The vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The vibe of it with being online, it would feel like you're watching a glorified ERL kind of, because that's what you're used to. It depends to what extent it's online as well. Would they have the talent maybe still be at least in a studio somewhere? Like, that feels like that's got to be the bare minimum. You can't like, if the talent are online on a webcam,
like EMU, like in at EMU Masters.
Or yeah, exactly. Like that would really feel like it's cheapened out and not the same product anymore. So,
but at the same time, if the teams are like kind of creating events out of that, you know,
yeah,
I do feel like it could be even more interesting, you know, if we have like roadshows as well with team gathering, but also like teams having, like, for example, in a MKOI against KC, you have KC playing at GRN, their stadium in Paris, or in Ile-de-France, and then you have Movistar KOI, which is playing in Madrid or some stuff in front of their crowd. Like, that will be very cool, you know.
Yeah,
that will maybe be even cooler than what we have now, for example.
Those definitely are. I don't really see many other teams still being able to actually run those though. So like this year you've got how many? KOI are doing 3, I think, and KC are doing 2, right? Which is already there's a lot of roadshows this year now. It doesn't feel like we're getting skimped on. That's coming from someone that lives in the country where 3 of those roadshows are happening. So maybe I'm a bit biased. If I was still back in the UK, I might not feel the same.
No worries. When Los Ratones come in, there will be a lot of roadshows in UK.
But yeah, like there's still like not much of Europe is getting fed with events. But then yeah, like it's because Riot have kind of found this this nice cop out with these roadshows of having KC and KOI run them. Like the ones last year were entirely run by those two teams. Like there was no even production stuff. Like Riot basically
And
did
this year,
nothing.
I think it's the same. I think this
Yeah,
year is the
I
same,
assumed it would
actually.
be. So with those events, basically Riot sent their casters, and that was basically it. They probably sent their casters, a few tech people, and referees probably. But
Like,
basically everything else
don't you
run by
guys
the
think?
team.
Don't you guys think that outside of SK, any team can fill a stage, like, and maybe shifters actually, any team can fill a stadium of like 1,000, 2,000 people?
No, 2,000. No, I'm sorry. Like
If
a
I go
couple
down
of
the list,
hundreds,
just
yes.
looking at just going from top to bottom of like the LEC Versus table, KC obviously could. NAVI, their league team is new, so I don't know that they would
Yeah, I
have
don't
that
I
much
don't even know
following.
where would they be based.
Exactly.
To be
Yeah, I mean
honest.
it's a bloody
Yeah.
it's a Ukraine org, like, and obviously there's a few issues that would mean it's probably hard to run an event there. Vitality, I guess probably could.
Yeah.
So there, imagine
Yeah.
because that's the other thing. Like they don't have to be a massive event. Even if you do 1,000 people would be a nice event, I think.
Yeah.
Vitality, I think,
and
could do
even
it.
imagine if you're playing against like KC or MKOI, for example, if one of the Spanish org is playing against MKOI, Spanish fans will come anyway, if
Yeah.
they're like JX fan or not.
So that's what I was going to say. The next one, Heretics. I don't know if Heretics have a massive following, but like
I
below
think
them
that's
in the
fine.
table,
I think that's fine.
GIANTX actually do have a big following in Spain. So if, let's say, Heretics did a joint one with GIANTX, I don't know if that's really possible, but if they combined, they could easily do 1,000. KOI obviously could, G2 could. Fnatic, I like the thing with Fnatic, they've got loads of fans, but I don't know where they
I
are.
think they do.
But where would they do it?
Yeah, actually,
I kind of
that's
think
the
it
question.
depends. It depends on where they set it up.
Yeah.
'Cause I
They're
see
they're like
them
technically
like
UK org, but like no, I don't think anyone's filling a thing.
Actually, in France, we have a lot of Fnatic fans. I feel like, and I think in
the
Spain
Madrid
too.
final, there was like a big,
Yeah.
there was a lot of them. There's like a
in Spain
Fnatic
as well.
fan community from Spain that's quite big.
Yeah, there was the
Because of-
Dragon community. Thank you.
Because of XPK, I feel like in
Yeah.
Spain, and because of Yellow Star and SOAS in France. I think, yeah.
That's the thing. They're like a big team. Same with G2 actually. Like they're both massive teams, but they're not centralized anywhere. So and actually, to be fair, at the first roadshow in Madrid last year, I interviewed Roman and I asked him, would G2 want to do one? And he basically said like, sure, we'd love to, but we don't. Basically said like they wouldn't know where to do it because they don't have a specific location where they've got fans. That's the issue with that some of them have. So like G2 and Fnatic, I'm sure they could do 1,000. They couldn't do like to the scale that KOI and KC have done it. They could do 1,000 somewhere, even if it's in somewhere else in Germany, maybe, I don't know. But Los Ratones could do it. Again, I'd wonder where they do it. They're like a UK org, but still, I just don't feel like the UK league community is that big that even a team like Los Ratones would do one. Maybe people would travel for them. I suppose, to be fair, the NLC finals are basically Los Ratones roadshows.
Yeah. I do think if they do wherever they do it in UK, they will find like at least 1,000 people.
Yeah, and then Shifters probably not, SK probably not, I would think. But the issue as well is like the expertise to do it. Where Riot have found this model of like, okay, we've got these massively popular teams that also happen to have run events before, so they know how to logistically set something up and book an arena, arrange the production staff. They've kind of got very lucky that their two big teams in KOI and KC could do that. Like that's not something you expect an esports org to be able to do, is run a massive arena event. So, okay, great. You've got those two teams that you can wash your hands with it and let them run your roadshows for you in their countries. But if you want one elsewhere, like you can't expect that G2 know how to put on an arena event, because that's just not something an esports org. That's not like a inherent talent that they would have needed to have until now. So I don't know. Like I feel it's good, all well and good saying, oh yeah, we can do more roadshows. I just don't see like Riot's got to be running them then, because I don't feel like, unless it's just KC and KOI over and over again, maybe chuck a GIANTX in there because they've got a big following that's localized as well. But again, I don't know if they've got the expertise to do it. So it's difficult.
I think it can be at the convenience of the teams, If teams want to do it, they do it. If they want to play at their headquarters, they play at their headquarters, Like I don't think that will be that much of a problem.
What are your thoughts, Davide, on online LEC? Essentially,
I'm thinking about how it will like affect everything, aside from roadshows and the fact that we're going to, see a difference in like a change in how people view esports competitions, mainly how logistically speaking that will change. Because I remember that we had like a conversation at the start of the year where moving everything online would probably like open up the LEC of having more BO3s, because you can have more matches going at the same time, because it's technically going to be less expensive to broadcast it. You just need like a knobs doing remotely, and whether that would be an interesting thing for fans. At the same time, there's always the downside of like you're going to have a very fragmented fan base where top teams will like team matches with KC or matches with MKOI will have a lot of traction, and then you see, I don't know, Team Heretics against Shifters or like SK, and there will be like very few following. So that was my main thought. I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing moving online if that were the case, just because of the fact that I don't know, could be good for a change, just to see whether that could, whether financially speaking, at least I'm mainly thinking from a financial perspective, that will make uh, Riot a little bit less pressured to deliver these kind of shows, and that opens up more opportunities for teams to generate more revenues. Because at the end of the day, it's like Riot has been always focused on generating their own revenues, because they need to be able to sustain this. And even though they obviously have other things that can generate money on, if that part gets removed, then teams technically might have more opportunities to capitalize on that, and then it will come down to the teams to make sure they can earn, like, get rewarded based on their own actions and not Riot's, because it's like a lot of the things right now are decided by Riot, and having that shifted away can potentially open up a little bit, like how the China one is doing, like China's LPL has different stadiums, even though they're all of them, also managed by somewhat by TJ, which is the company behind the LPL. It's still like the arenas are still technically created by the teams. Like you have the JDG arena in Beijing, you have the LNG one in Suzhou, and then you have, I think, Shenzhen and Shanghai. Oh yeah, and then the Xi'an one, which is from Team WE. I'm not sure how like the deals are there, to be honest, in terms of whoever gets what share. Because I know like the ticketing is kind of weird there as well, like the ticketing system and whatever how it works. But it could be good for the entire ecosystem to see how it plays out, because I think it's pretty clear that the way we've been doing things will not work long term. And so, like, it's kind of it's kind of goes to like back to the franchising thingy. Like it used to work at the time. I think it was the right choice at the time. I think we need to change a few things, because it's like things are dynamic, things are about to change, so you cannot use the same system all over again. Just like even in traditional football, I think there was some guy from the FIFA committee saying that they want to change how do you call them?
offsides.
Yeah, how the offsides work. That could be game changing, to be honest. Like a lot of goals that get cancelled right now could become goals in the future, and that's, as long as everyone is somewhat aligned, or like the things are the direction that all the stakeholders move towards to is positive, and everyone is down to doing it. I think that could be a way to see how things work. Because I think like compared to traditional sports, esports kind of needs it because we have been like the consumer trend and how esports gets viewed has changed a lot over the years. Like we had to go through the COVID times, which was super good for us, but then it kind of died down. But like people were, investors and teams were trying to sell their sell their valuations whatever for based on those periods, which were vastly inflated, bubbled, and now we're back to a state where we need to consistently build a good fan base and hopefully have fans that are very invested into the scene. I think EU is actually doing a pretty good work in terms of how they try to work around their communities. I think especially compared to like other regions, just to think of it, like even in the, it's kind of like I think we're kind of moving towards to the SCK type-ish model where big teams will always have big fan bases, but then the small teams will get loved by a smaller minority. As long as that minority is strong, that's fine. You don't have to have teams that are consistently fighting for the top spots. Winning is not the only solution, as long as you have a good image and a good branding that comes with it that people will resonate with. Like I think like even shifters like you guys were saying like that they're trying right now, I think makes sense. They had a somewhat meh branding, to be honest. Before that, they were trying to do something with it. Even if they get shitted on, no pun intended, for their for like make fun of recently. I think it's actually good for them because gives them a lot of traction and attention. Like people will actually know, and the shifter's name will kind of stay in their in people's minds while we think about esports and we talk about esports. So the Fnatic took 20 years to do that. Shifters probably won't need to take that long.
Winning does help.
Fnatic has been like Fnatic has been what I want to say is like Fnatic has been the game for such a long time that people will know Fnatic from the start, from the first era of League. Now we're kind of like into the second era or maybe even third era if you wanna go by that logic.
Basically, if you're a Fnatic fan right now, you're a Valorant fan, not a League fan. I feel like if you become a Fnatic fan right now,
yeah,
you're yeah, true.
You can be a League fan, then you're fucking.
Well, in Valorant they've not won a big thing for a couple of years now as well, so question marks. But anyway.
Yeah, but like they were still a good team,
They win.
Like
they've won a few. Well, last year they lost 3 global finals in one season, so it's a bit rough.
It must be sad, man. Like that's like LR level of grief,
There's one thing, like with it going online, like they would have, like Riot would definitely save a ton of money. They'd still like a lot of their production costs are not based on being in Berlin anyway. Like the people in Dublin presumably would still be running the production even if it was online. So they're not saving money there, but they're saving money on having to run an arena and have all these people working there day to day. So as long as that money goes to something else, like maybe that means they could do more content. They could bring back Euphoria and have it every week. As long as that gets funneled into other things that help the league, then sure, might be pretty good. And I'd be surprised if they just jump straight to fully online as well. Like I would think it's maybe more likely 1 or 2 days a week start online, because also they've got the issues that it clashes with Valorant as well. And like you say about there not being many people in the arena for the LEC that is on weekends. You should see the Valorant matches on like a Tuesday evening. Like there's nobody there. There's nobody there. So yeah, like it would maybe help them be able to do a bit of overlap with that as well, and that could help both leagues. Because, like for example, there's a couple of weeks. I don't know if it's next week's games, the ones that are on. Yeah, I think it is. The next games are like next Monday, right? So there's no games on the weekend, and people are saying like that's a bit weird. Why are they Sunday on Monday? Because Valorant have got playoffs this weekend, so they want to make sure the playoffs are on the weekend, and it's this age-old thing of having that clash. If they could do one of them online, maybe like the LEC first few games of the playoffs being online might not be the end of the world, so they could get away with that being on the weekend still, you know, if things were to change like that and have online matches. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll keep our ears to the ground. But I think that's about it for this week, because I've got to go. So thanks for joining me, guys, as always. Thanks for listening, audience, as always, as well. And we will see you next week.
See you.
See you
Bye.
guys.